Have you ever heard of golden blood, the world's rarest blood type, or about that guy who managed to eat an entire aeroplane? Man, he must have been hungry. Well, I've got more wild, bizarre, and downright crazy facts to send your way. Here are 20 random facts that might not seem it, but are 100% true. Love the smell of fresh cut grass? Well, it's actually grass screaming for help. When blades of grass are cut, they release chemical signals called green leaf volatiles to warn other plants of danger. These plants react by thickening their cell walls, increasing the production of bitter chemicals to make their leaves less appetizing, and sending out help signals to nearby insects, calling on them to man the defenses. So the next time someone says they love the smell of fresh cut grass, just back away slowly. You don't want to be associating with those barbarians. The hairy frog has one of the more bizarre defense mechanisms. It breaks its own toe bones and forces them through its skin to form claws. And it's probably no surprise that this freaky ability has earned it the nickname Horror or Wolverine frog. When the fight's finished, the claws retract and the skin starts to heal over, but scientists still haven't figured out how they manage to repeatedly break and heal their bones. In 16th century England, if you had black, rotting teeth, you were seen as wealthy. Why? Well, a couple of reasons. At the time, Queen Elizabeth I loved her sugar, so much so that her teeth gradually decayed and turned black. Secondly, people saw sugar as a symbol of status, a luxury item only the upper class could afford. This led to one of the more bizarre beauty trends, where those wanting to appear wealthy and popular started staining their teeth on purpose. They'd rub soot and charcoal on their teeth to get that black rotting effect. And it was definitely one of the more painful beauty fads. I mean, they didn't officially have dentists back then, so if you needed a tooth extracted, you'd book an appointment with your local barber or blacksmith. And good luck getting any anesthesia. Ever wondered why December 26 is called Boxing Day? Well, in Britain, after all the wealthy families had opened their presents and celebrated around the Christmas tree the day before, they gave their servants and workers Christmas boxes of gifts, food, and money. Since they had to work on Christmas Day, Boxing Day was their chance to take their Christmas boxes home and celebrate with their families. Blowing out birthday candles can increase bacteria on a cake by up to 1400%. It's pretty obvious how. When someone blows out candles, small saliva droplets transfer the bacteria from their mouth right onto the cake's icing. Researchers from Clemson University conducted an experiment using frosted cake slices and found that on average, bacteria increased 14 times after the candles were blown out. But this is just the average. There were some pretty scary extremes. In one case, they found bacteria had spiked to 120 times the normal level. So maybe think twice the next time someone hands you a rogue slice of mud cake. If it took an army of toddlers to blow out, you can just put it down and walk away. Imagine having a blood type so rare that only about 50 people worldwide have it. That's golden blood, also known as Rh null. It lacks all Rh antigens, making it a universal donor for Rh negative patients. So essentially for everyone who doesn't have golden blood. The blood type is so valuable that blood banks keep records of all known donors so they can be tracked worldwide. But how does one get golden blood? Well, it's inherited in cases where both parents carry a rare genetic mutation that prevents Rh antigen production. And it doesn't really seem fair, but if a golden blood donor urgently needs blood, they can only receive it from one of the other 49 golden blood carriers around the globe. So I played my fair share of Monopoly, but this one was news to me. According to Monopoly's official rulebook, if a player lands on an unowned property and chooses not to buy it, the property must immediately go up for auction. And it gets better. Bidding doesn't even have to start at the price listed on the property. You can snap up one of those lucrative green properties for just $1. So I know everyone's about passing go and collecting $200, but it's auctions where the Monopoly millionaires are made. Why don't we ever get annoyed by that pointy thing sticking out of our face, always blocking our field of view? Well, it's pretty simple actually. We just ignore it. Your nose is always in your field of vision, but our brains are wired to pretend it isn't there. It's called unconscious selective attention. It's where our brain filters out unnecessary information so we can focus on more important visual detail. But if there's a new distraction, like if you start wearing glasses or you injure your nose, your brain recognizes something's different and you might suddenly notice it again. Imagine eating an aeroplane. Well, that's what Mikel Lotito did. Over 2 years, Monsieur Mangetout, or Mr. Eat-It-All, devoured a Cessna 150 by breaking it into bite-sized metal pieces and consuming them bit by bit. His stomach lining was incredibly thick. Medical studies confirmed his digestive system could process metal, glass, and rubber safely. But he didn't stop there. Over his lifetime, he managed to consume over 9 tons of metal, everything from bicycles to TVs and even a coffin. Somewhat surprisingly though, he struggled with soft foods like bananas and eggs, foods his stomach wasn't used to digesting. Lotito lived to the age of 57, eventually passing away from natural, non-metal eating causes. The phrase "bite the bullet" once meant exactly that. A form of battlefield medicine where before anesthesia, soldiers would bite down on bullets to endure extreme pain of surgeries and amputations. And it stuck even after the war, symbolizing a person's grit and resilience. And today we metaphorically bite the bullet every time we brave that rush hour traffic or step into that difficult conversation. Ever heard a cow with an accent? Apparently, it's a real thing. Dairy farmers in England first observed that cows from different regions sounded different. This led to some scientific studies that found cows change their moos based on where they live, just like humans with different regional accents. Their social groups influence how they sound, and even mothers and calves develop unique tones to communicate. Research even suggests that cows can adapt their vocal patterns when exposed to human speech. In 1793, the US had planned to adopt the metric system, and Thomas Jefferson, then Secretary of State, was waiting on official metric standards being sent from France. But during his voyage, the French scientist sent to deliver them was captured by British government-sanctioned pirates. The metric standards never arrived, so the US was forced to remain with British imperial units. Eventually, the US Congress did later legalize the use of the metric system, but it was never enforced. They ended up sticking with imperial, and today the US is one of only 3 non-metric countries. The Guinness Book of Records was created in 1955 by a beer company to help settle arguments at the pub. The idea came to Sir Hugh Beaver, the Guinness Brewery Company director, after he got into a heated debate about which game bird was the fastest. No one could find a definitive answer, so in his frustration, Beaver created the first Guinness Book of World Records. It quickly became a bestseller and now tracks everything from crazy human feats to the most unusual, bizarre talents. And it even holds records on itself. Best-selling annual book series and the book most stolen from libraries. When you're in complete darkness, you're not seeing true black. Your eyes are actually seeing Eigengrau. I might not have pronounced that properly, but it means own grey in German, and it's described as a deep greyish colour that continues to fade as your eyes adapt to the darkness. This effect stands out more when you're comparing it to something that is truly black, like blackout curtains. Eigengrau will always appear slightly lighter. It's all due to visual noise in the retina. Even without light, the neurons in your eyes remain active, causing random signals that create a faint grey background. Prohibition wasn't just about banning alcohol. The US government actively poisoned it. To discourage drinking, officials added lethal chemicals like methanol, leading to blindness, paralysis, and 10,000 deaths. The public condemned the policy as state-sanctioned murder, but the government blocked out the noise. They kept poisoning alcohol right up until the 30s when prohibition ended. Turns out, cigars and carnival games go hand in hand. At least in the early 1900s. Back then, cigars were often used as prizes for winning fairground games. If you just missed the win, the operator would say close, but no cigar. Cigars were eventually swapped for the more family-friendly stuffed toys, but the phrase stuck around. It remains a classic way to describe falling just short of victory. In medieval Europe, people ate off thick slabs of stale bread instead of plates. They were called trenchers, and the bread absorbed all the food juices and were then either eaten or donated to the poor. Trenchers were gradually replaced by wooden and eventually ceramic or pewter plates, but only the wealthy could afford those ones. Probably lucky for those who couldn't, because many contained lead, which isn't the best to consume. Bananas are naturally radioactive because they contain potassium-40, a mildly radioactive element. And by mild, I mean that you'd have to eat 10 million bananas at once for it to approach levels considered dangerous. But while they may not turn you fluorescent green anytime soon, they do serve an important purpose in helping to explain radiation exposure in everyday life. Scientists use the banana equivalent dose, or BED, as a guide. To give an example, a chest x-ray is 200 BEDs. A CT scan 700,000, and 1 full year in the Chernobyl exclusion zone is equivalent to 3.6 million BEDs. Your smartphone is millions of times more powerful than the computer that landed humans on the moon. NASA's Apollo 11 computer had only 64 kilobytes of memory and could only handle one task at a time. By comparison, the modern smartphone has between 4 and 16 gigabytes of memory and can handle a huge number of tasks. Apollo 11's computer was so inferior to today's standards, even a basic calculator is more powerful. Scorpion venom is the most expensive liquid on Earth. It costs just over $10 million per litre. A single drop will set you back about $100. But why does it cost so much? Well, milking scorpions isn't all that easy, and these arachnids aren't huge. Each milking only yields about half a milligram of venom. To make matters worse, they can't just produce venom daily. Some take weeks or months to replenish. Scientists use the venom to develop painkillers and life-saving cancer medications, so it'll probably continue to be the most expensive liquid until they figure out a way to artificially synthesize it in a lab. And that's a wrap. Still can't believe I've been playing Monopoly wrong this whole time. That one's gonna stick with me. But if you're still hungry for more mind-blowing facts, don't forget to check out these ones. There's a new video out each week to give you your gasp-inducing, head-scratching dose of facts. And as always, thanks again for watching, and I'll catch you next time.